Fresh Classic Anniversary Realms are almost here, and with hardcore, TBC progression, and a fresh start for all, there is so much to look forwards to. Welcome all, my name is Willie. From the humble adventurer delivering letters and solving small problems, all the way to uncovering devious plots or taking on elite enemies in dungeons and raids, questing has always been a big part of World of Warcraft, and we've experienced so many amazing stories over the years. So to celebrate Classic starting fresh on November 21st, let's talk about 6 quest stories within World of Warcraft Classic that have become legendary among the players for the stories that they tell. We'll begin with a rather early game quest which is notorious on the Horde side. Now the proper name of this quest is Lost in Battle, but you'll simply know it as the ever asked question in the Barrens, where's Mankrick's wife? This quest was elevated from a simple go and find this person to its status today for a few reasons, the biggest of which were, well, originally add-ons were few and far between in World of Warcraft. You had to go and find Mankrick's wife based off of the quest description, and the second reason everyone knows this quest is just because of how often this question was asked. And people in the Barrens chat, well, let's just say they would often be a bit less than helpful, or they'd just give you some kind of Chuck Norris joke instead. The Lost in Battle quest and the story of Mankrick's wife are infamous due to being a core part of the typical Barrens chat experience. I mean, as a Horde player, you can reasonably get to this zone around level 12 or so, and then leave all grown up towards level 20. That many people in a single zone for that long is bound to make it memorable. Next up, you will almost certainly have heard the story of Edwin Van Cleef. The story of the Defias and Van Cleef has to be among my favourites personally. It starts off as something very secretive and hidden, but the more you quest and investigate and search for information, you realise the whole situation is something much bigger than you thought. His entire story unfolds over many quests, starting as early as Elwyn Forest with what seems to be just a nuisance group of bandits. Then you head over to Westfall where you thin out their ranks, and finally to the Dead Mines where Van Cleef is defeated once and for all. He also curiously drops an unsent letter which all party members can loot, which after more journeying, investigation and delivering, you'll be taken into the Stockades, and then finally to defeat a corrupt noble in the quest, The Attack. I mean, the Defias have built a whole destroyer ship underground to assault Stormwind. In fact, you can see the doors the ship would have left from just off the northern coast of Stranglethorn Vale. I didn't realise that was there for so long. Creepy zones, immortal necromancers, and finding a way to defeat them is the next adventure on this list. This massive chain spans some 15 quests, starting with Sven's Revenge in Duskwood and finally ending with defeating the necromancer Morbant Fell. This quest series starts by having you searching for answers to a mysterious figure who is lurking in the wood. You then have to prove your ability to Sven by defeating nearby undead, and finally you venture all the way over to the wetlands to craft a special weapon that will be capable of removing Morbant Fell's protection and essentially making him mortal for a short period of time. But when you finally arrive at the necromancer's house ready to take him on, it really brings the whole quest line together. He also proves a challenging fight in Classic as he has a bunch of guards in the room with him, so grouping up is usually advised for the final step. And on top of that, in Duskwood there are so many other great stories, such as unwittingly reanimating the abomination Stitches, or finally laying Morladim to rest. Duskwood is a top tier zone. I don't think I ever do a playthrough without coming here. Let's head a bit more towards the late game content of Classic WoW now and check out some quests which are available to both factions as well. One which I definitely remember and that stands out to me is the absolutely heart-wrenching story of Pamela Redpath and the retelling of the Battle of Darrowshire in Eastern Plaguelands. This follows the story of the Redpath family who were torn apart when the Scourge attacked. It begins with you setting out to find Pamela Redpath, who haunts the destroyed village of Darrowshire in southwest and Eastern Plaguelands. Her spirit still lingers on there, but she doesn't understand what's happened during the battle or why nobody has returned to find her. After locating her doll, you set off to find her remaining family members. You learn that her father, Joseph Redpath, was slain and raised during the original battle, but perhaps we'll be able to alter that timeline and set his spirit to rest instead of having to meet this fate. So we go and meet with a certain gnome who has become quite the regular occurrence in World of Warcraft over the years, none other than Chromie. Through her magic, she reveals extra pages in a book named The Annals of Darrowshire, which details the tragic history of this town. You take this book over to a surviving family member, Carlin Redpath, who cannot believe it exists, but wishes to discover the truth of what happened. So you set out to collect relics that will allow you to reenact the Battle of Darrowshire. You bring these relics over to Chromie and you prepare for the final battle. During this battle, the events that happened must go in the same way that they did originally, but with one difference. After Joseph Redpath is corrupted, he must then be slain so that his spirit can be saved. This can be a tough quest and not one to take on solo, but after a long battle, you're finally able to change history and redeem Joseph Redpath, who is finally reunited with his daughter Pamela, and they're able to go in peace. Speaking of the Eastern Plaguelands, we have a rather familiar face around there in classic WoW, none other than the renowned paladin Tyrion Fordring. At first he has you do some simple work, clearing out some dangers in the Plaguelands, taking care of carrion worms, bats and demon dogs. After you're done with all that, you've earned some of his trust, you've proven yourself, and then he properly introduces himself to you. He tells you of his son, Haylan Fordring, who's strayed from the path of the light and joined the Scarlet Crusade. He wishes for you to aid him in restoring his memory and to bring him back and reunite him with Tyrion. So you set out across the Plaguelands, collecting various relics from cursed locations, dealing with grave robbers, banshees, and even venturing into the Scarlet Monastery section of Stratholme to recover a certain painting. You bundle these items up and through the powers of Miranda the Hag are granted an illusion which allows you to walk through the ranks of the Scarlet Crusade at Hearthglen and deliver the package directly to Talon Fordring. So eventually you make your way there and Talon asks you to lead him back to his father. This final and famous quest step has, well, it's you being escorted out of Hearthglen by Talon, to be honest, and not the other way around. But just before reuniting with Tyrion, you are attacked and Talon is slain by the Scarlet Crusade. Finally, at the end of the quest, Tyrion retakes his place as High Lord of the New Order of the Silver Hand and offers several of his possessions as a reward. And it's oftentimes in Classic people will really go out of their way to do this quest, both for the story of course and the rewards, which are also very good. Another multi-zone epic quest which spans so many different zones is often simply referred to as Lincoln's Quest, which, let's just say, has one or two references along the way to another highly popular game that's been around for even longer than World of Warcraft. It starts off with a few mystery items in an abandoned pack in a river in Ungoro Crater. Bringing these items to Lincoln up in Marshall's Refuge, he seems to vaguely remember that he's there for a reason, but you need to investigate to find out more. And this is where the quest really takes off. You travel all across Kalimdor, from Winterspring to Feralus to Felwood and finally into Tanaris, where you fashion a totem from the water elemental Aquamentus. Taking all these items you've gathered throughout the quest back to Lincoln, he finally remembers his purpose in Ungoro, to slay the fire elemental Blaze Runner. But he says that you are now the hero and you should be the one to defeat him. For this, he offers you one piece of advice. It's dangerous to go alone. After claiming victory against Blaze Runner, you head back and the quest is finally complete. You get a choice of Lincoln's Sword of Mastery or a caster offhand. You also get a fun trinket in Lincoln's Boomerang. This is truly an epic quest which is definitely worth seeing all the way through at least one time. And that is it, 6 of Classic World of Warcraft's best quest lines and stories, which you definitely shouldn't miss. There are so many other great ones too, from Rock Dalar, Benediction, Elixir Attunements, to obtaining the Scepter of the Shifting Sands, but you'll have to get out there and experience them for yourselves. And don't forget to be extra careful when taking on some of these epic quest lines on your hardcore characters too. They are well worth doing of course, but those elite enemies can always put your skills to the test. Are there any other quest lines that you would have included here, and which are your favorite quest stories within the game? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in a fresh Azeroth very soon.